Good morning, Mark Stott of HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video update for Hurricane Matthew. Recording this fairly late at night, 2:42 a.m. I am in Florida. Took a while to get down here. Had some other work to do on the way in Charleston in anticipation of this system heading that way eventually. So here's a look at Matthew getting stronger, pressure dropping, the winds should start catching up. There's the eye right in the middle of this red area of deep convection. No doubt the Bahamas through here getting pounded. Nassau, Andros Island, all coming up to be under the gun from this powerful Category 3 hurricane. Water temperatures warm enough, the upper environment favorable enough, it looks like, for this to strengthen further. And it may become a Category 4 again before making landfall, possibly landfall, somewhere here in eastern Florida, southeast Florida to be specific. The 2 a.m. advisory information, the intermediate advisory, 9:54, so the pressures come down. Winds are 115, and boy, it is pounding portions of the central Bahamas. No question about that. The track forecast from the 11 o'clock advisory showing the next 5 days at least, and then of course the 2 a.m. it gets updated, the intermediate advisory, just moving the position forward a little bit. But you notice it comes really close to making landfall. Don't worry about necessarily the eye, because remember, look, this is where the eye is, and this right here is what those little black dots represent, the center of the hurricane. And those effects will extend way out, something like that. Very heavy rain, gusty winds, beach erosion, big swells, trees down, power lines down, you name it. This is going to affect a lot of people along the southeast coast of Florida. What about elsewhere? Certainly up through Georgia and the Carolinas, perhaps having hurricane conditions. That's why the hurricane watch now extended up into South Carolina. And even on the west coast here, tropical storm watch. Man, this is just amazing how many people this is affecting, and the large geographic swath from this late season hurricane in October. Usually we see them come out of the Caribbean and turn this way to the northeast. Instead, this came out of the Caribbean and turned northwest, so quite an unusual year to be sure. Heavy rainfall, the worst of it just offshore, but there are some indications that maybe this bullseye here could be a little bit closer, this yellow, the brighter yellow. In some cases, in extreme eastern South Carolina, maybe southeast North Carolina, anywhere from 5 to 15 inches. I know that's a pretty steep gradient, and then certainly here along the Florida coast, especially the east coast, the extreme east coast there, anywhere from 7 to 10 inches, even stretching back along portions of central Florida through Ocala, Orlando, etc. Pretty sharp gradient, though, to the rain. For example, Charlotte up here in North Carolina, not much rainfall associated with Matthew. It's more related to the front coming in, kind of squeezing out what's happening with Matthew just a little bit. The GFS, I wanted to show you this. Actually, this is out at 72 hours. Let me move it forward one frame. I really didn't show the first part coming towards Florida because this is pretty much set in stone that it's going to be real close or just onto the coast. And I know you folks up in the Carolinas and Georgia have an interest in this too. Look at those bands of very heavy rain setting up here Saturday night into Sunday. There's the center of the hurricane still just east and south of Charleston and southwest of Wilmington. But that is a very heavy rainfall pattern associated with this, probably interacting with that front. And if we look at the tropicaltidbits.com site, the very latest Euro, let's go back to the very beginning. This is the initialization here, hour 0. There it is tonight, initialized at 8 p.m. Eastern time down in the Bahamas. 24 hours out, really close to Florida, probably makes landfall by 48. 72 hours, it's just off of Charleston and southeast of Myrtle Beach, southwest of Wilmington. And then, yes, it starts to loop back around and comes back towards Florida, trying to intensify again, but nothing like it is now. We will worry about that later. For now, best advice, if you're in southeast Florida, you better be ready. Tomorrow's your last day. The effects will start to become more pronounced as we move through the day tomorrow with the bands of rain coming on. Watch your radar and different radar apps. I like to use Radar Scope. It's fantastic. But there's others. There's certainly free versions out there of different apps. Keep an eye on the radar. hunker down. If you haven't been told to evacuate, stay off the roads. Oh man, definitely stay off the roads, please. So many people drive around in this kind of weather and they just don't realize the hazards that are out there. And then brace yourselves, because it's coming. Hurricane Matthew headed for the Florida coast after battering the Bahamas, and then from there moving up through Georgia and the Carolinas. How close and how strong, what the structure is like, we're going to have to keep waiting, unfortunately, to find out the answers to what the impacts will be farther up the coast. All right, that is it from me for tonight. I'm going to get a few hours of sleep. I am Mark Sudduth in Titusville, Florida for HurricaneTrack.com and, of course, Hurricane Pro in HD. I'll have more coverage for you from the road down here in Florida beginning later tomorrow.